What's going on, everybody? It's George here with Casey, Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. Welcome back. As we got something special for you guys today. I think you're gonna enjoy it today quite a lot there as we begin to tear apart one of the largest bracket races that happened 2 weekends ago. Not quite last week, but the weekend before that. We want to tear it down. We're going to tear it down in a little bit of a different perspective, not just from the viewer, Casey and myself, sitting on the sideline watching the wonderful Motor Mania TV stream all weekend. Casey also went to a race that week, so he didn't catch as much as I did. But we also have a special guest for you today. So, Casey, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot, man. Glad to be back here. Finally getting some nice weather out here in North Carolina. I was just outside playing with the dog. It's maybe like, I don't know, right around 80 degrees, sunny outside, not a cloud in the sky. It's great weather for those boys down at Galat right now. In fact, the very first car I saw go down the track on Motor Mania was 000 already. So maybe we shouldn't be there. That dude's already on it. But they got that shootout race tonight on Motor Mania TV. And I'm looking forward to watching it, man.
Definitely going to be watching that as well. Pretty sure most of our viewers will also be chimed in over there at Motor Mania TV. As always, thank you, Motor Mania. Everything you guys do to help us get to some of those long work days by providing us with some bracket racing to watch on TV while we, quote, unquote, get some work done. Most of the time I get in a pretty good groove because I'm listening to drag racing and I just knock out work left and right. But there are times where, especially whenever people that I know are at the starting line, there's not going to be any work getting done for a few seconds there. So usually a little bit less than 5 seconds, I'll be back to work. So, So what we're going to do today here is we're going to cut to a brief commercial, and we're going to bring on special guests. We're going to let him introduce himself, tell you guys about how he got into the sport, things like that, and at the same time listen to some chat. See if we get any feedback from you guys on some things that you might want to talk about. So hang on to your seats as we go through Going Bracket Racing Live. Kevinoid Little, special guest.
The Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel is your place for news, interviews, tutorials, and commentary on the latest happenings in the bracket racing community. Get your fill and let your voice be heard on the Going Bracket Racing live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a Going Bracket Racing live stream. Find us on YouTube and Facebook at Going Bracket Racing. We will see you there.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. It was a quick break. Thank you guys for what you do in showing support to the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. We certainly can't do this without you guys, and we want to make sure you know that. First and foremost, we thank you guys for coming on here at week in, week out on Tuesdays and catching us. I know you see an unfamiliar face that is about to become quite familiar here in just quite a couple of seconds there. Mr. Kevinoid Little, welcome to the show. Kevinoid, you've been a great follower of ours for quite some time. We can't thank you enough for coming on board.
George, I got to thank you and Case for having me on, man. I mean, I think I've been with you all since the first broadcast on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, I think he's right, Casey. What do you think? He's been there from the very beginning of the whole thing.
I always see this guy chiming in on every single post we make, and every time we've gone live, I've seen him in there, man. And we can't thank you enough for all the support you've given GBR and always pushing us out there, sharing the Facebook page, telling people to come on and like the YouTube channel, man. We can't thank you enough.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. I mean, y'all put out some great information for the world of bracket racing and drag racing overall.
Definitely. And so it's one thing that we like to do right off the bat, Kevinoid, when we bring them on the show here, we love to give a moment for you to introduce to us and to the rest of the Going Bracket Racing fans. How did you become a bracket racer? I think that's a great question. Everybody knows mine and Casey's story, but I want to know yours.
Okay, I'm going to make this as short as possible. I mean, I got introduced to drag racing. I'm originally from North Carolina. If no one knows, I'm originally from North Carolina, a little town called Mount Gilead in Montgomery County in North Carolina, 15 minutes from Rockingham. I was taken to my first drag race at 8 years old. And back then, I got to meet Gene Snow. And then a couple of years later, me and my dad went IHRA event. I got to see Ricky Smith, Bob Glidden. Both had Motorcraft sponsorship at the time, if you all didn't know that. And Ricky Smith won that race against Bob Glidden at Rockingham. So I looked at my dad, I told him, I said, you know, that's something I want to do, but I got to find a way to get there because it ain't like, you know, you can have money right off the bat. But I joined the military, of course. Over the years, I did 29 years in the United States Army. So when I got to Fort Hood, I found a track to go to that was local and didn't have a race car, but my wife had a Nissan Maxima, 1992 four-door sports car. I took that car, started bracket racing, and to this day, I think I've won more money with that Nissan Maxima than I have done with any other car. It ran 1690 in the quarter. And I did a perfect run with that car, by the way.
Oh,
perfect
man.
on the tree, 1690, dead zero.
Off the bottom. Perfect off the bottom. Let's talk about it.
Yes. I used to be a bottom bulb racer, and a lot of the guys in Virginia on the East Coast I raced with, I was bottom bulb. It's just recently, I'm going to say the last three and a half years, I jumped into top bulb racing because of the hired gun. He pushed me that way. So if y'all don't know who the hired gun is, that's my son, Kendall Little. But that's how I got into bracket racing. I took my wife's Maxima, and when I did that, George and Case, you know, I went all out. I had Zex nitrous system on it. I had a big pack in it. I had decals everywhere. And she told me, she said, I tell you what, you better get me a new car because I'm not driving that thing around town.
You probably did one or two anyway.
About a 50 horse shot on that, it'd be what, doubling the horsepower?
Yeah, almost. I had 100 shot on it, believe it or not, man.
Wow. Well, tell us about your new car, man. I don't know if you have multiple cars. I feel like I see you and Kendall in a bunch of different cars a lot of times. In fact, I think Kendall was just in Bloomfield's car, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Kendall was actually in 3 different cars. He drove a Troy Williams FTI Nova. He drove Bloomfield's truck. He drove Bloomfield's Dragster. And the reason being is we was running the local race in his car, and we broke 2 lifters.
Ooh.
So that ended our day on that one. And we tried an engine change, and we just said, hey, and Kendall's like, nope, y'all worked hard enough, Dad. He said, I can make this work. I can go get a car. But my car is an 82 Camaro. I actually purchased it from one of my friends, Rick Bell. At the time, he was in Tennessee, and I was here in Texas. And it was after my first deployment because, like I said, I had a Maxima. I always wanted a real race car, and he gave me the opportunity to own my first car. And to this day, I still own it and been improving it ever since. And now I transitioned into the Black Panther, which, you know, I didn't think was going to take on a big fan base the way I did, but it just like blew up, you know, where people was like, hey, man, you're the Black Panther. Yes, I am.
Hey, man, those car names, that's what it's all about, man. We need to bring those back. And I know I got 2 cars, and neither one of them has a name except for our entire lives. Anything I've ever owned, George has always had a name for every motorcycle I've ever owned, every car I've ever owned. It doesn't say it on the side, but George, he just feels it, and he tells me what they are. But yeah, man, that Black Panther Camaro, you went real deep with that car at one of these races at Bradenton at least. And we saw, I mean, overall, it seemed like every time I turned on the Motor Mania feed that I was seeing the Black Panther Camaro every 2-3 cars. How'd you end up doing down there? And when did you start running these big money events? Is that something that you try to follow more so than the local type events? Because I know you living in Texas, George and I were talking about this earlier, North Carolina and Texas, you can run local every single week if you want to. There's a million racetracks. We live in a great area for bracket racing, but it seems like I've been seeing you and your son showing up to these SFG in particular races. Is there a reason why you follow those series more so than your local races, or is that even true? Do you follow those more than local races?
Actually, we do local races. I do support the local tracks here. The difference between our track location case here in Texas, for me to drive one way is 2 hours to either Dallas, or if I go to Houston, that's almost 3. And we got a new track, I-30. I think that's going to put me about 2 hours. But we do try to support all our local tracks. But We started racing with SFG, when they first started the first 500K. Actually, that was the first big race that actually Kendall drove that one. I was crew chiefing for him. I didn't drive or anything. So we went up there. But I just liked the way SFG was doing things and gave big support behind Kyle and his staff on what they was doing for the bracket racing, because I got to put it out there where it belongs. SFG changed the game in bracket racing. It changed it across the board, even with local track operations. That's why you see local track owners now try to have a more lucrative type race so they can keep their local races close to home instead of traveling. But I do local. I have done other promoter events, but mainly I been on a lot of the SFG races, and I like what they do. I have, like I said, I raced other promoter events, and we had one locally here, and I got to give shots out to this young lady here, because she promoted this race like it was never promoted. Paige Hamlin, I'm hoping I'm saying your name right.
Yep.
I've never met you, and if I met you, I'm sorry, but I definitely want to give a shout out to Paige Hamlin, Fat Boy Mafia, for what they did at Extreme. Galen at Extreme. It was an outstanding race, because I talked to George. I sent him numbers on that local race case, just to let you know. We had 214, I believe, in electronics, 88 foot breakers, 12 juniors, 309 total for a local big money race put on by Fat Boy Mafia, which was, if you've never been to Extreme before, George, I had to park in the spectator parking because I showed up on the main event day.
Jeez.
And that's, normally I'm on concrete. But it was a good event. Great racing, tight racing, and it was overall a great event.
And that you got a case?
Go ahead, George.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I had to watch that from afar. Of course, I'm still waiting to get the S10 down here. And if it hadn't been here, I promise you I'd have been parking on spectator parking with you. That way we can just keep it all in one big group out there in the pits. It don't matter if we got to drive a mile to the staging lanes. I'll follow you up there. And but that's going. My hat's off to her, because the weather wasn't the greatest this week going into that race. And thank the Lord that weather cleared off and actually gave off two really, really nice days for drag racing. I just so happened to have, yeah, it really did. I had to go to my little niece's basketball game. She was playing over in Mansfield at the field house there. So I wasn't very far from the track, but I couldn't get away to save my life. I was going to try to come over there, but probably a good thing that I didn't. But I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off real quick. And this isn't on the script, Casey, so we're going unscripted right here to piggyback off of Kyle going live and telling us what was going on with the million, now 500,000. And I got to take my hat off to Kyle for that. Nobody knows what's going on in the country right now, number one. Housing market is crazy. Wood costs way more money than it's costed ever, being triple to 4 times the normal price for just a piece of decking. So any type of work have to go on in the house, you're going to have to pay a lot of money. Kyle decided to make races even more affordable than the already affordable price. Kevinoid, I want to get your feel for that. Being a racer that is likely going to attend that race, I'm 100% sure you probably heading to Michigan for that. And I want your feel for that.
Well, I always mess with Kyle. I said SFG is where the money resides, But my thing is that anytime you can save, and by no means I'm big sponsored. I have a fund for racing that's huge, because actually my comptroller is my wife when it comes to my budget. So, but anytime you can help the racer out, and, because everything, like you said, we don't know the state of the economy. We know fuel prices is creeping up, but I think it's a good thing. You can't satisfy everybody. Let's put that out there, because, it's going to be said, okay, well, it's $1 million, but you're paying $500K. But my thing to you is this: if it's $1 million, it's a $500K, you win it, you're going to turn it down?
Exactly. That's what I was just getting ready to say. That's exactly what I was getting ready to say, man. And the thing is like the $1 million idea is great, but you're going to have to pay the entry fee that goes along with that as well. And,
Exactly.
Everybody was kind of saying, yeah, the car count's down, the car count's down. Well, guess what? In my opinion, until SFG came around, 400 cars was a lot of cars, was it not? That is a low car count for an SFG race. That's not a low car count for anyone else.
That's a fact.
That's just SFG, because no one ever got 800 cars until SFG showed up.
That's a fact.
Exactly.
And were those, do you think those massive car counts, which, like I said, never really happened until SFG came around, do you think that the massive car counts we saw last year were simply because, like a lot of people have said, there was really nothing else you could do in certain states? Like, you could only, if you wanted to go racing, a lot of states you couldn't go racing, but you could go racing in XYZ state, and you just run over there real quick and you go racing. So maybe people were, for example, me living in North Carolina, I would never go race in Las Vegas. It is a day and 10 hours to get there. 34 hours is how long it'd take me to get there. But if that's the only place I could race all year, maybe I would.
I'm going to say I agree with that, Casey, because I know for a fact last year during the pandemic, Val Torres and his family came to Texas. There was no racing in California, period. And if you know anything about Super Comp racing, you hear the name Torres, you know it is famous with the Super Comp and NHRA. I got to meet Gabe Val Torres Sr. when they came to race, actually at the Motorplex. They stayed here, they raced some divisionals. And actually, I got to see him again when we got down to the SFG race in Georgia. So, yes, you got the guys out west, they want to race. And you got to think about this one. Canada, guys in Canada couldn't even come racing. They want to race so bad.
They locked.
They're locked in.
They locked.
So,
and we see you out there in Canada.
He was just telling us.
And Cody's in here right now. Cody Newman, he's actually from Canada here. And hey, we see you guys. We definitely appreciate you Canadian racers following us here on the Go on Bracket Racing YouTube channel. And trust me, we hope your time is coming so you can join up with us at maybe the Michigan at what is that? What track is that? 151? I don't remember.
131.
131. I put a 5 in there. Meet us there so we can do some drag racing, And we got a few comments in the track. I'm gonna jump on Dylan Champion real quick. He says, "Do you feel like a lot of big money race promoters are going to do what Kyle did with the uncertainty of the economy to try and get more racers to the track?" I'm going to take that first, and then I want everybody else to kind of jump on with me, and I'm going to say I hope so, but it's 80-20 that it's not going to happen, meaning 80% says to me that Kyle is going to be the only one to save entry fee money for the racers. That's just me. Only reason I'm doing that is just because historically that is Kyle Riley's MO. His mode of operation says whatever I can do to make it affordable for George Atchison, that's me by the way, hey, to be able to afford an entry, I should say Junior because my dad will be there anyway, but George Jr. says I can't afford it, so man, I'm contemplating getting a plane ticket. You know what I mean? You saved $1,000 right off the top. That's a plane ticket, and I don't need a hotel luckily because my father's gonna be there, but I'm going to say, Cody, that I don't think Dylan, that anybody's going to cut the entry fee prices just to entice a more affordable price for the races. You guys feel free to chime in.
Well, don't forget that he's one of the few that what is on his flyer, that's guaranteed money. So don't forget about that either. A lot of these places you show up and you could win a $500,000, but you couldn't,
That's fact.
But,
exactly.
Yeah, man. Here's another question I want to get to you, Kev, though, that how would you compare these big money races that you go to versus your normal bracket races as far as, like, is the competition any tighter than it is? I mean, you look on there and every once in a while, you know how your brain kind of focuses on those crazy packages. And I know you were susceptible to some of those where yours would have beat pretty much anyone else. And me and George were like, man, he got kind of screwed on that deal. But But at the same time, in your experience, like, are these guys just insanely better? Is it somewhere along the lines where if you race 5 times in a row, you can't be unlucky that many times? Obviously, the people who show up there, you don't show up to a race like that thinking that you're just going to go there and have fun. Like, you're all going to go there to do good at least one day. You know what I mean? That's not somewhere you just kind of go and just are like, well, I'll spend the entry fee money and see what happens. But what is your opinion on races like that?
My opinion on the big money races, my mentality is this. You go there to win. You stay focused. Now, when you get there, it's at the SFG events, it's not too intense. I mean, it's more laid back. I've been to other events where, you walk through the pits and individuals won't even speak or say hello. I mean, it's, and I'm fine with that. If that's your MO, fine. I just know the next time I won't greet you in that manner. But my mentality is, when I get there is, to make sure, first of all, my mindset, because I took my military training like this. I do it 3 times before I actually do it. I go over this thing in my head, I simulate it. And I'm just using myself as an example. When you get to the big money race and you've played this over in your head, only control what you can control. I can't control that individual that's in the other lane, no matter if it's Jade Coughlin, Dave Conley, Brian Folk, Jason Lynch. These are the individuals I have ran, minus Dave Conley. I have not raced Dave Conley. But you don't worry about that. You just think about everything you have done to get to this point. Don't sell yourself short. I tell most of the local guys, it's like, well, man, you travel this and you travel there. Guys, I started out with you. You can travel as well as too. I don't know what your financial background is or anything like that, but always bet on yourself. So when nobody knew me when I got there, I can say that nobody knew me. I just went up and do my thing. But as you start going rounds and you start putting your packages together, they will tighten up against you. And technology is great out there, Case and George, because now the time slip is on your phone. They can see I was 001, 001, 005. So the information is out there for you to see your other competitors. As long as you know what number he has on that car, you can look and see what his trend is on driving. But one thing, I used to have this mentality until this weekend. I used to figure if I go to the bigger races, and my mindset is very strong there, I got to stay focused. When I get back to the local races, I might can let up a little bit, and these 15,000 packages going to win me some races, maybe 75% of the time. That's not true. Let's throw that out. Let's throw that out, because this weekend I showed up, had a great showing in Florida. Local race, like I said, at Extreme. Hey, my 15 pack wasn't nothing when I got a guy next to me, trip zip 5, dead 4. My 15 pack is no good. From the hit, I was done. So when you go racing, I don't care if it's local or big money, stay focused from the beginning to the end.
So you're of the same theory as me and George then, which is do the best thing you can do at that particular time, because guess what? That next guy that was behind you, I'm pretty sure he won with a 32 pack. You know what I mean? It's all about who you pull in the lanes against, and it doesn't matter what their name is. It matters what they're doing that particular time, but do whatever you think gives you the best chance to win that round or the race in general every single time.
It's a fact, and I can highlight one particular round because only reason why I can highlight it even easier, I know I was watching Kevin, but I was watching my dad as well. And Kevin, you went before him. You might have been 4 dead 9 or something tight like that down at the SFG 500. My dad was 000 1 above 5 for the loss. Okay, and then you got the bye run. So I was thinking to myself, I was like, if you just had not been 1 above 5, you might have had the bye run in the next round. But I'm okay with it because Kevin got it. So it's like, all right, well, it is what it is. Because you lose, if you lost with a 15 pack, number one, it wasn't meant to be. in my opinion. 15 will win probably every other race that round, if I'm not
And you
mistaken.
can't hang your head about
You can't do it
either.
You can't.
No, no, you can't. But that's one other thing I want to share with you all. And you've probably seen this not only at the SFG races, but any race in general, especially when you race it over a week's time. I'm going to use myself, for example, had a phenomenal race on that 100K. But you got to stay focused and you got to stay, don't get fatigued because, like I said, out of everyone that you've seen win, like Johnny Ezel, start off with the warm-up great. How many times did you hear Johnny Ezel name throughout the week?
Right.
I can tell you the next day after I got to the split of the 100K, I was beaten like a drum. I lost to a guy 3 times, the same individual 3 times in a row, Mark Mullins, that won the 100K that day. I lost to him in the split round. I had 2 chances to get the bounty. First time I screwed up, I took too much stripe. I took half a car, Case, half a car. And normally when I rip one time, that's one number, but I broke out by 3,000.
Dang.
I just had the same thing happen to me the other day. Exact same thing.
It's tough too because at that race, everything was seemingly dead on. I mean everything. Every single car I watched was dead on. So shout out to Bradenton for prepping a track like that, number one. That track, either it had teeth, it had shark teeth, alligator teeth, probably alligator since it's down south, and shark. They got them both. It don't matter. That track was phenomenal. So for you to rip it once and be like, oh, this is good, I would have took a half a car too. What's the point in taking? I understand everybody's like B-double-O, take double-O, and this, that, and the third, and yeah, that works and all. But if your car is running dead on and you doubt honest, all you got to do is be one above.
And with that theory, the B-double-O, take double-O theory is good on paper, but what you did in that round is going to win that round 99% of the time. Just the air changed, something happened, maybe it left a little harder. I know this Malibu, it'll wheelie real hard every once in a while, and you'll be like, oh, here we go, but and I'm sure your car, what's the Black Panther run, 580s or so?
560s, I think.
560s.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
You got 540 in there? 555?
That's classified as a Noble's race engine. That's classified at this time. No, actually, that's a Jimmy Noble's race engine. That's a 572 cubic inch that's in the Black Panther.
Certainly shout out to Jimmy Nobles.
Getting after it for sure.
Hey, shout out to Jimmy Nobles. I've been hearing good things about what he's doing over there at his racing shop there. Pretty sure if I have to, hopefully not, Lord, please don't let me break too much of nothing, but hey, Jimmy, you got a customer sitting over here in Sherman, Texas. So I'm right here. Somebody's got a question for you. Cody's got a question for you, Kevinoid. He says, do you feel like a big target at your local track after these big money races?
Well, that's a good question. If I do have a target on my back, I won't know it. But I'm pretty sure, when you do go to these events, the local guys know. So they definitely want to throw their hat in the ring and, want to, put that notch in their belt and say, well, I know what you did in the 100K, but I'm going to go ahead and send you home. And that's great competition. I can respect that. I mean, I would probably be the same way for years. I would see guys that, I knew that was good. And I wanted to beat that guy because if you want to beat a man, you got to beat the man. That's what they say.
It's true.
So, but most likely, yes. Anytime you see the Corey Gallettis, the Hunter Pattons, everybody know you're going to tighten your game up. But don't get too hyped. Don't do that.
Absolutely.
You set up, you have those guys against you. Maybe they'll set up 002, but that's just as easy. They could come up 2-3 red also. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think there's a lot of times we used to always say back in the day that a lot of those guys, people would change their game to race somebody that they think is better than them. That might not necessarily be better than them. And they'd let one of these big guys, they'd red light like 001 red to them or break out just a little trying to play their game at the finish line. And that guy'd be like 30 something on the tree, and they beat themselves because that guy's better at his game than you are at his game. That's why it's called his game and not your game, Yeah. So at the end of the day, being perceived as a big time hitter is good And in fact, that's just as good as being perceived as a nobody, in my opinion. Maybe people lay down or get amped up, but in the end result, a red light is just as good as somebody being 70, you know?
Exactly. And, one thing I want to add too is, with the target on your back, of course, everyone knows who Jay Coughlin is. I call this station wagon the Gray Ghost. But I had the opportunity to race him. He beat me the first time. He beat me. I think I lost a couple of thou. He beat me the first day. But we happened to meet up again in the main event. And I won that round. And, for a guy, multi-world champion, to say, hey, good race guy, you're a good racer, that's what it's about at the end of the day. He gave me the double salute. He said, hey, go do your thing. But that's it. That's what it's about. I mean, go to one of these big races and just gauge yourself on where your skill set is. And, and look at what other people do, to see what they get to be ready, get ready for these races. I mean, I've watched a lot of races over the years. A lot of people think I'm a young guy. Actually, a lot of people think I'm Kendall's brother. I'm actually his father, because when they see me, they can't believe I'm 50 years old. I'm actually 50 years old. So, so if you want to consider me an old guy, we can still get out and get it done. And George, I was there with your dad and your uncle.
Right.
So we still get it in. So I'm going to try to do this thing as long as I possibly can. I got a good engine builder behind me. I got some good friends behind me. I mean, I couldn't do this without I got to give him a shout out. I got to give Jimmy a shout out, Jimmy Nobles. And if you watch the live feed, he had that pretty dragster that had the rat fink, got rat-a-tat on the dragster, old school rat-a-tat. But without him, I couldn't do it. I mean, you guys know it's certain things you couldn't do without that individual that's in your corner, that's turning wrenches, or your crew member. But I definitely got to give him a big shout out, because I couldn't have done it without him. Because, I mean, even though the engine is in my car and I own it, I don't touch it without consulting with him.
I ain't touching it. Hey, Irvin, we most of us are top bulb racers currently. I think that's what you're asking us, Mr. Askew. Feel free to let me know if that's not what you're asking there. But I'll let go on the top. Now, Kevin has let go on the bottom, as he's mentioned before. I'm pretty sure he could probably go back to letting on the bottom if he want to. But it probably would be a little bit of a hassle knowing that Kendall might be in the car behind you at some point in time. You never know. I know they make these little fast disconnect, boxes that you can just pull out of your car and be able to do whatever you want to do. So certainly, I guess I got a question here to get back on script, because if you guys didn't know, going bracket racing, we don't generally stick to a script ever. Yeah. And that's the way
we write down a couple bullet points, and our bullet points are about that long, and then right. The script's this long somehow.
I prefer it that way because it's all genuine at that point. It's not something that is like, oh, we're going to talk about this, and everybody knows the answer. Like, I can assure you, everybody out there, Kevinoid has no idea what I'm about to ask him next. Okay? All right. So here's the next question, Kevinoid, off the script, the little video thing here. Do you think a points program could be implemented into these big money bracket races? Basically, the reason why we're asking it, Casey and myself have always talked about this honestly, is you always hear about the Ezels and the Kevinoid Littles and the Kendall Little. The hired gun is always somewhere near. Atchison's, there's 2 of them that's going to be there, probably 3 in the near future. With my cousin Tony going to be being able to get out there a lot more than myself. But what do you think? Is there a possibility for a points series? And I thought I heard Kyle speak on it before. But what do you think, Kevin?
It's possible, but I'm gonna tell you, the people that has the most money will win it due to the travel. Mm-hmm. Because as you see, the SFG races is just not down the street. So whoever has the bigger wallet will win that points deal, because they can go to more races. That's just me being the small time racer that I am, so I couldn't make all 4 of the SFG races we did a points. I could probably make 3 out of the 4. And depending on if I was leading and how far of a points advantage I had, I could probably make all 4, but if I was in contention, let's put it that way.
That makes sense too, because at that point, And especially if you're running an SFG event, not to take anything from any of the other promoters out there. You know how we are going bracket racing. It's about drag racing. It is about the sport of bracket racing. We'll mention it. But if Kyle Riley is to throw a points program at the end of one of his races, or for somebody attending all four and doing supremely well, chances are there could be a Chevy Equinox, a trailer, a shorty dragster that's turnkey, some entries into. Kyle is notorious, and this is not just pat the guy on the back. This is his resume for what he has done as far as gifts for showing up at his races. So I get you when you say, if I'm leading points, man, I'm making all four of them races, because chances are it's going to be something big at the end of that bad boy. Chances are. Casey, what you got?
My theory was, what if you could do like a smaller series where you could kind of combine like the This Is Bracket Racing type deal, where they're saying at your local track, and then they have a ton of local tracks all competing against each other effectively. Or even if, like, say somebody like an SFG or a Fling series or something was going to do that, maybe they had like a couple smaller races and they say, well, we'll have 8 races and you can claim your best 3 or something. So the guy who could only show up to 3, maybe then they would still be able to be in contention with the guy that went to 8, in theory, because at the end of the day, like the NHRA stuff, that's kind of how it works with the divisional side of things.
Throw out races.
You can only claim X amount.
Yep.
Let me share this with you. I know someone who actually did what you just stated, Casey. If you go back, I think it was last year or the year before, Cody Farche of CP Promotions put something together like that, where I think it was 20 races, different tracks, and it was a point series. And actually, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was free.
That's really cool.
It is.
It
is.
Well, and the thing is if you get enough promotion out of it, theoretically, business-wise, you should be able to make it free, because you're getting, in my opinion, like, for example, the driver series that I think is what it's called, that This Is Bracket Racing does. Everyone's talking about that. So any sponsor that comes along with that just wants to keep adding to the pot, they're going to get talked about across the entire country for free the entire year. So while you're giving away X for free, you're going to be able to sell 10 times more than that. I mean, that's simple marketing. That's the best marketing you could possibly do. Is honestly, giving stuff away for free is the best marketing you can possibly do, because people will then talk about it for free, and there's no reason for them not to sign up. Similar to subscribing to the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel, in case none of you have done that yet.
Hey, I was actually going to plug that, as well as Working Man 10 grand. We're going to talk about Ohio, I think, here in a little bit. I think you guys got a real nice double day of 10 granders going on, and a junior race I think is paying $1,500. Shout out to Jake Hodge for putting on the third annual Working Man's 10 grand. And just for showing up, I think if you're entered into the whole weekend, he's giving away a free $5,000 to win race. So it is wise, as we all say, to affiliate market, for lack of better terms. Just be affiliated with Jake Hodge in his race, and he'll give you a $5,000 race on that Friday. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Hey, what's going on in the chat? I see Jimmy Nobles chimed in. We glad he says he had to pull his car over because he was listening to us. He said he had to stop. That's pretty cool. We got another guy in here who says, I'm building an S10. I may not have a Going Bracket Racing door trucks rule truck shirt coming out. A shirt.
That is the plan.
Irvin, be ready, man. I'm gonna have some shirts coming out for us S10 drivers. I got an S down myself, so definitely. No, Casey, what we got next? I want to get off into talking about Ohio, because I think I heard mention about something about Ohio before we started this whole thing. Kevin?
Man, before we get into that, we need to not forget about these YouTube guys, man, because I've been so busy talking to you guys that I've been forgetting about them over here. Alan Boykin, what's up, man? We got Killer Goblin. He's saying Kevin was tired of beating everybody at Little River, so that's why he went big money racing. We got
Wow.
Ed Torrance over here. Thanks for showing up, man. We appreciate you coming in. He's one of the newer guys too.
Yep. He got
Loving
a
some
Nova.
going bracket racing
He's
as
got
well.
him a Nova. He's got a Nova.
Does he?
Yep.
Hey, man, we're getting some Nova shirts coming out too, man.
Yep.
So we're just waiting on Speed Shark to get those guys ready, and you guys will be the first ones to know about it. So we're in the process of getting some stuff going on for you guys. But what is this about? What'd you say, Iowa or Ohio?
That's
What's
Ohio.
the deal on this?
Ohio.
Sounds like something I need to know.
Me too. I'm waiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me open up with this one. George, we was talking about, the best bracket races in the country. And you brought up the point either it's Texas or North Carolina. And what I stated is, I said, well, the guys in Ohio may have something to say about that. Because you got a dude named Matt Daddis. Matt, he's out there, There's some great races up north. So, and one name in Michigan I think about is Bill Swain.
Yep.
Bill Swain was the runner-up to Gage Birch, in the first 500.
And don't forget how late he was doubled.
He was doubled.
He was doubled, real deep.
And I was there. That's where we first met, Kevin. I don't know if you remember that. We was standing over Marshall Groom's car searching for a electrical issue. We found it.
Yep.
The male-female wasn't connected all the way together. That car was shutting off during the burnouts. He couldn't find it.
I've been there.
Nope, that's pretty cool. So Ohio Racer, they are at least well represented. You got the Xenu tracks. As a matter of fact, I know this well because my dad, when he runs super quick, if you run into those super quick classes and those races in Ohio that you go to, if you're not going to run 455 or 6, you ain't getting into no 32 car field in anywhere near Ohio. You're going to have some blown cars. You're going to have some really fast cars out there in Ohio. I know that much. That's a fact. So, yep. Nope.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to add something else to the pot, too. I'm going to add a little bit of Kansas in there. A big shout out to my man Carson Wheeler in the P53 dragster blower. If you haven't seen it, looks like an old P53. He won the 10K at the Fat Boy Mafia race. And also a shout out to Dylan Bondrager, who won the shootout in the Dial 690. I think that's a Malibu.
Yeah, it looked like a Malibu. And the funny story here, too, Dylan Bontrager, I don't know if you remember me, but we both used to be affiliated with Avocare, right? So anytime that I would go and pick up my products from Avocare, I'm walking in there one day, and there's a guy with a PDRA Top Dragster shirt on. So I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right up my alley.
That's my friend.
Me and you, we can be cool. It was Dylan Bontrager. That's why I first met him. So, yeah, definitely congrats to him. You showed up and showed out at that race as far from what I heard and took out some pretty good heavy hitters. I don't know, man.
Definitely.
Casey, what we got in red there?
Man, I guess the last question I have for Kevin is, have you seen any kind of change in attendance or sponsorships on cars? Do you think ever since like Motor Mania and Bang Shift and Drag Racer TV and all these people started actually covering events? Do you think that we bracket racers are now turning into more of like we all know there are professional drag racers, and stuff like that, like Shane Carr and Ezel and Williams Brothers and stuff like that. But like, do you think it's possible in the future, if we keep going down the route we are with SFG and the Flings and, just Fat Boy Mafia now and CP and all this stuff, do you think it's possible for more people to not necessarily go out and dominate, but since there is actual TV coverage and there's people like Going Bracket Racing and Team 14 and Motor Mania and all these things that can cover it, do you think it's possible that bracket racers could potentially do this for a living? Is there a junior dragster driver today that might be a professional bracket racer, not off their own winnings, but because they can do it similar to Sean Langdon does in the NHRA?
I'm going to say, yes, it can be done. Don't forget, we are in America. We can do anything.
True.
So it can be done. Everything has to be perfect. I'm not going to say everything has to be perfect. I'm saying everything has to be lined up. You said a key word. The key word is marketing. How do you market yourself? I mean, just think about it. I'm here with you all on Going Bracket Racing. I mean, someone might see this and say, hey, you know, that Kevinoid guy, you know, I didn't know anything about this, but I seen it and, you know, let me talk to them. And since you're talking about marketing, I'm going to bring up this. Most of the time when I choose my products, I look who's supporting us before I purchase those products. Definitely, I got to meet Kevin Rodden. If you all don't know who Kevin Rodden is, he's the owner of K&R Performance. I got K&R boxes in my cars. I called Kevin and I said, hey, this is what I need for the Black Panther. Can you make me a all black K&R box? Yes. I met Kevin the first time when we was at the Million last year. Spoke with him this year. He got my box set up. I talked to George over the winter. I did a complete ignition change on my car. I went to grid. I put in the K&R box. And also, if you didn't know, Kevin got down to the split as well with 2 entries.
2 entries.
With
Yes.
2 entries.
What was that?
So-
Was that a little was that
Vega.
a Vega?
Yes.
It was a Vega. Yep.
Silver Vega.
Yeah. I call it the Silver Surfer. So
That's what I'm talking about.
But-
You're about like George, man.
gotta
Everything's
have a
got a
name.
name, just they don't know it
Oh,
yet.
come on.
yeah, I grew up with the era, man. I didn't really know the drivers. I always knew the cars because they had names on them. I thought it was cool.
Yep.
I thought it was cool. But just to go back on Kevin, I mean, you know, in marketing and, you know, if you took business, basically, if you want some type of deal, you got to have a relationship with that product or company. I mean, Kevin is a great individual. In fact, my dialing boards are on the way. I got digital dialing boards. I called him. I said, hey, Kevin. I said, hey, this is Kevin Little from Texas. Hey, man, what's going on? I said, I need some dialing boards. They're on the way. Just that simple.
Yep.
You know. And also, it was, I got to bring up this product as well if y'all haven't seen it. BGR Motorsports. These are 3D printed products that clamps onto your cage in your car. Brian Garrett, if you're on Facebook, check out Brian's product. It's on the BGR Motorsports. Brian is a racer as well. These guys I'm talking about is in the lanes with you. They sell products. Check them out. Help them out. It may be something you like. And, you know, it was kind of funny. I just bought one thing from him. I liked it. I said, well, I really don't want to tear up my cage. I want to mount my box. He made a 3D print for my K&R box to be mounted to my cage. It's lightweight. It's real sturdy. So great products. So get out there and market yourself. I mean, we got these high-tech phones we pay a ton of money for. Let's use them. You got social media platforms. I mean, if you want to get out here and do this thing professionally, you got to promote yourself. You got to tell your story. You got to let the people develop a relationship with the products you buy from Jegs, from Summit, you know, all these individuals. You never know. It may not be money. They may say, hey, here's a gift certificate for some parts, or, you know, you can get a reduced price for this. It may help you out. It may not be a lump sum check all the time, but it will help you the way you market.
I like it. And that is part of what, this is part of the reason why we even made Going Bracket Racing, Casey. You know, we wanted to be able to have a platform to allow the rookie driver, per se, a place to be able to go to, or places to be able to go to get what he needs for his car. So a Kevin Rodden and K&R. I definitely want to know more about whom you just mentioned. When I re-listened to the video to find out if I made any technical issue errors here, I'm going to write his name down. I will do my best, Going Bracket Racing YouTube fans, to try to have him on this show to showcase his own product to you himself, or allow me to do it for him, and I will give him all the recognition. It doesn't matter, because that is what it's all about. Keeping it all bracket racing or into what we do is going to grow this sport, because somebody is going to keep creating things that betters this sport. So I certainly appreciate what you just said there, 100%.
Exactly. That's just going off of what you both said, is that's exactly what we're trying to do with Going Bracket Racing, is bring those products to the people. Who helps us? Like, for example, TSR Performance, great people over there, tsr-racing.com. You go over there and they have great customer service. They'll help you out with anything. They're the little guys like the rest of us. We all need each other, and we all need to stick together so that way we can all grow together. And you only need to put people out there who are going to help you, who are going to provide good customer service. I don't want to send, for example, you guys, Kevin and George, I don't want to send you guys down the street to somebody and you beating your head against the wall being like, man, why did he send me to that guy? Why am I dealing with that guy? Now I'm in a predicament over here. But if you know somebody who can do the exact same thing better, send them to that guy, man, because that guy, the reason he does it better is because he's working hard to please his people. And that's why they, in my opinion, they deserve to be the ones recognized, not these people who've, there have been people who've been around forever that have had great customer service, but a lot of people ride off their name. And I think people should ride off of what they do and their word, not their name. That's what Going Bracket Racing stands for, is just helping the little guy. And, if you want to make something of yourself, then we'll help you do it.
Yeah, that's a fact. And I'll take this moment to segue again. Anybody in the North, Ohio, anywhere near Xenia is where I think it's going on. The Working Man 10 granders are going on this weekend. Jake Hodge puts on a heck of a show. He's got junior dragsters that he just entered into it. I know we got at least one or two of those things going from our team, as well as our 2 race cars, big cars. And if you're out there, feel free to enter into that race. I'm thinking it's pretty affordable, something like $300 for the weekend, if I'm not wrong. It might be a little more than that. Jake, don't slap me if I'm wrong. All right, I don't want to be slapped. But that flyer will tell you what's going on. And if you need help finding it, certainly send me a message on here. I will send that flyer over to you as I do have it. But definitely, before we get going here, Kevin, who else you got to thank? I know you've mentioned quite a few of them, and we want to give you the stage. Get them out there. Whoever you got to thank, let them have it.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start. Because I will not live this down. I definitely got to thank my wife. She's my foundation. Without her, I couldn't do it. She's the one that keeps me grounded. When I get the big head, even in the military, she keeps me grounded. Gotta say hi to my mom out there. If I don't say mom, I love you. And, but definitely, like I said earlier, Team 14, I couldn't do it without them. Just to give y'all a brief synopsis on Team 14. Team 14 stands for teach, empower, advise, motivate. The number 1 represents my mom. The 4 is for my 4 brothers. It's the 4 brothers. So we're a nonprofit, and I got to thank my younger brother, Randy, actually put it together. I'm just the VP over the motorsports. He's over the academics, and my brother, Eric, handles all the basketball camps. So we came together as one pyramid under Team 14. But back to, I got to thank my man, Dave Covey, that does my transmissions. I got to thank Rick Bell Racing. I got to thank Ed Farley Transportation and Trailers that provided me the trailer to get to Florida, by the way. Big shots out to Ed. Shots out to Syntex Printing, Greg Duffield. If I'm the Black Panther, Greg always called him, I called him the White Wolf. So, Greg, you're the White Wolf. And shouts out to Marlin Goats Industries in Troy, Texas as well. So, and Willie's Performance right here in Killeen as well. So without these individuals, guys, I couldn't move around the way I do. And, oh, by the way, I do have a kid, the hired gun. I like to thank him because most of the time he'll try to, tell Dad, this is what you need to set in the box. And I do listen because he have more experience than me on the box racing, but I think I'm going to catch up with him soon. So, but those are the individuals that definitely stands behind me, stands behind my brand. I definitely stand behind them any day, anytime, anywhere. So, guys, I really appreciate you all having me on. I couldn't, this is a big deal for me because no one asked me to be on their podcast ever. And as you can see on the shirt, it's I never lose. I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn. So that is my mantra I live by.
I have adopted that since I heard you say it. You said it on one of your live streams coming straight out of SFG 500, and I caught it. And, I told Casey the next day, man, he dropped some knowledge on that live stream. I'm going to live by that myself. And I think Kendall dropped a little knowledge, too. I saw a commercial where he said, one of the guys asked him, hey, Kendall, you next, by the way, Mr. Hired Gun. I'm gonna pick your brain after a while Going Bracket Racing need to have a higher gun sighting. I know you're gonna hear this eventually, so just hit me up. Whatever, we can set that up. But I think he said one guy asked him, "Do you go into a race with any type of a routine?" And Mr. Kendall Higher Gun Little said, "Not really, because if I don't go by that routine, my mental capacity might be off by just that was wise beyond your age, Kendall. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm taking that from you because having something. What if I didn't put my glove on the right hand first? Oh man, I didn't put my glove on the right hand. I didn't put my left shoe on first. I'm in trouble. I'm going to lose. Nah, man, I like that. I like that. That's what I'm talking about, and that's what people who are new to this sport really need to hear. That type of encouragement, and that's half the reason why I just brought it all up. So certainly, I think I'm looking at some posts here on Facebook, and Roosevelt Gongob. He says, "Don't forget my shout out, official pit crew." Hey, coach.
Yes. Hey, G, I seen you pop up. Hey, yes, that was one of my classmates. So yeah, he's in the pit crew. He was with me at Little River. We have one. Yes. Yeah, G, I didn't forget about you, man.
No, guys. Hey, so Casey, any closing remarks? I know we coming up on that hour mark, and we certainly appreciate everybody joining in and chiming in. And Kevin, we appreciate you being here. Casey, any closing remarks?
No, man, I just want to tell Kevin how much we appreciate him being with us, man. And I can tell you that it might be a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to us too, man. So we're always rooting for you out there anytime we see you on Motor Mania, and hopefully we get to all hang out one of these days in the real world. So
yes.
Well, without further ado, guys, we certainly appreciate you joining in to the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. As always, catch us live Tuesdays, 5 Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. We'll always try to bring something either influential or knowledgeable, something to you that you can have something to ponder on while you interact with us. So, on behalf of Going Bracket Racing, we are signing off. Thank you for being the most important part of what we do here at the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. Until next time.